What's up, everyone? Eli here, back for a new stuff video. I haven't been buying a ton of stuff lately, um, but I have kind of collected a small stack of things over the last month or whatever. And just brace yourself. Out of all this stuff, I got some CDs and I got some horror movies as well. Um, I've only seen one of these movies, and I've only ever heard two of these CDs. So the good majority of this stuff I'm familiar with, but I've never heard or seen. So I know some people don't like when I do that, but I actually do that a lot when I do new stuff videos. I don't watch, when I show new movies that I buy, I don't watch them first necessarily. When I show new music that I buy, I don't necessarily listen to it first. These aren't reviews that I'm doing here. Obviously, I'm gonna listen to them at some point, and maybe I'll come back and talk to them after I do so. But I'm just, that's just not how it works for me. But let's get started. I think I'll start with the movies first, and I'll do the music second. I got 3 DVDs here, all 3 that I was pretty stoked to find. I guess I'll start with the one that I actually have seen. I'd seen this years ago on Netflix, and I quite liked it. I wouldn't necessarily have forgot about it, but I never pursued, a physical copy, to be honest, until recently. There's a YouTube channel called FoundFlix. I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with it. It's pretty big. I think the dude's got over 1 million subs. It's a great channel. The only complaint I'd have about it, which is probably a common complaint, but it is the whole purpose of the channel, is he basically explains movies. I mean, he literally talks about the movie. It's not necessarily a review. It's an explanation. He breaks down the movie from start to finish, which is pretty cool. But after you watch one of the dude's videos, you really do feel like you've seen the movie. So, I mean, it's cool. It's a great channel. I mean, if you've seen the movie already, it's cool to watch the video. And I think he does such a good job that sometimes I will watch his videos on movies that I haven't seen, but then I'm like, fuck, I just kind of spoiled it for myself. But anyway, FoundFlix, great channel. He had talked about this movie recently, and it kind of, reignited my interest in it. So I went and tracked down a copy. That's Session 9. Cool movie. There's some known actors in this. You get David Caruso and Josh Lucas, and then a couple other dudes that are, not so well known to me, but I'd recognize them. Filmed by Brad Anderson. But I gotta say, I've never really necessarily been a David Caruso fan, but he's really good in this movie. Very good performance by Caruso. So what this movie is basically about, it's about this crew of dudes who basically they work for a company that goes into like old buildings, and they do like asbestos removal and other harmful fibers, I guess, that they used to use to, for like insulation and shit for old buildings. And now that we know that it's extremely harmful, and there are companies that do shit like this, so it's yeah. I guess on the back of the movie it says Hazmat Elimination Company. That's not really what they call it in the movie, but anyways, you get the point. So you got this crew of dudes who are going into this old, I don't know if this is the proper term, insane asylum. I don't know what whatever it's actually called. They go into this old asylum that's been long shut down, which kind of doesn't make sense, because you would think they would, in reality, somebody would probably just buy the land and bulldoze the bulldoze the building, because it's this giant mental hospital. And what's cool about it is this building really was a mental hospital in real life. So set piece was already there. What a brilliant idea. So anyway, the company's going into de-asbestos it, and basically it's a haunted building. I won't really give you any more details from there, but there's some nice plot twists, good performances, nice creepy atmosphere. Like I said, I really liked it when I saw it years ago on Netflix. I'm glad to finally have a copy of it. A lot of you have probably seen it. I've heard people talk about this, but yeah, You know, if you haven't seen it, go check it out. I don't know if it's still on Netflix because this was probably at least 5 years ago that I saw it on there. So I mean, it might be long gone, but I don't know. Find it somewhere and watch it. Or if you've seen it, let me know what you think. This movie, just picked this up the other day at a local store. I've been kind of, slowly collecting all the Hammer horror stuff. So this is the 1973. As I've said before, you may have caught it or you may have not, but I'm not super well versed in like the old horror stuff, like 70s and before. There's a lot of that shit that I haven't seen, so I'm really catching up. Especially the Golden Age stuff. That's still like fairly new to me, even though I've known about it my whole life. But 1973's Frankenstein and the Monster from Hell. Cool cover, of course. It's Frankenstein. You got Peter Cushing. I couldn't turn it down. Snagged it. Excited to watch it. Got Halloween coming soon, obviously, or just the month of October in general. I kind of want to do some kind of cool like horror movie challenge for myself in the month of October, but I don't know. I'm too flaky for I'm too flaky for commitments like that, but we'll see. And last but certainly not least is a movie that I've known about for a little while. I wouldn't say I've known about it for a long time. It's from 1981. I guess I've been curious about it for the last couple years and found a random copy, grabbed it immediately. 1981's Dead and Buried. Nice, cool Blue Underground version, as they usually do. You get this cool slit case, and got a pretty nice double disc thing there. Nice presentation. If you're a longtime horror fan, you're probably familiar with this movie. I know I've seen it talked about here and there over the years. You might know that this was written by Dan O'Bannon, who worked on Alien, among other things. Let's see Dan O'Bannon wrote this with Ronald Shusett, directed by Gary A. Sherman. Other than that, I'm not familiar with much about this movie, other than I've seen and read reviews and stuff like that, and I've always been curious about it. I guess Robert Englund is in it. That's cool. I might have known that. Stan Winston did the effects, so right there, I mean, that's a super plus. Anything Dan Winston's involved in, is a good thing. So what I gather, it's kind of a zombie movie, but it's kind of a different take on the zombie genre. So stoked to watch that. We'll move on to the music here. So what I have is 3 2020 releases, which is cool because up until now, I haven't bought many, so it's cool to kind of add to that. And I gotta say, these are pretty hyped releases. These are pretty damn hyped, all three of these. One band I'm a longtime fan of. The other two I either haven't heard at all or have spent very little time with and have known about, but I'm going to start with the 2 CDs that I bought that I have previously heard. And they were just missing from my collection, and it's about goddamn time I owned them. Such as Panzer Division Marduk. This is either an all-time classic, depending on how you look at it, or, one of the worst albums in black metal. People seem to kind of veer one direction or the other. I'm a big Marduk fan. This is not my favorite Marduk album. I think it's great, but it's not my favorite. And, hence, I guess, why I never owned it before. But I'm glad to finally have it. Of course, this came out on Osmos Productions. I think did it come out in 2000? I'm not sure when it came out. Yeah, of course, this is a re-release, so I don't have the exact date on the back. Might have came out in 2000. I had thought it came out before that, but anyways, I'm terrible with years. I almost never remember the exact year, even some of my favorite albums. Nice, multi-panel booklet there that you may or may not have seen before. This is like it or not, this is one of the albums that Marduk is most known for. So I guess you could say it's one of their more, widely known and successful releases. Most people's the common complaint with this album is it's a complete bulldozer of a black metal album. I mean, it is kind of like the quintessential relentless black metal that people either love or hate. It's, in one word, it is relentless. It does not, it just grabs you by the throat and doesn't let you go for the entire, it's almost all blast beats, fast paced. There aren't a lot of tempo changes. It's a steamroller of a black metal album. And like I said, people love that or they absolutely fucking hate it. I'm kind of somewhere in the middle. I'm fine with that style, but it's not something I'm going to listen to day in and day out. It can can get a little tiring, but I like it for what it is, I guess you could say. Let's see if my coffee's finally cooled off by now. Made a big pot of coffee before this video. I feel like I could talk a little better if I'm, highly caffeinated. Helps the enthusiasm for sure. All right, and this next one, I may have owned this at some point. I don't honestly remember. I've been really wanting to have it for these last couple of years, and I'm glad to finally seal the deal. Mostly because this is a band that I've always liked, but I've kind of like rekindled my love for this band, and I've been listening to them almost nonstop lately. Alice in Chains, MTV Unplugged. What to say? 96. So back in the mid-90s, MTV did a series. They did an Unplugged series where they chose, and I don't even remember all who were involved, but they chose a number of bands to, come down to not a studio, but like a venue, really. Maybe in New York or something, some venue, and basically do a live strictly acoustic performance. And they would film it. You could watch it for free on TV back in those MTV days in the mid '90s. They were aired for free. Of course, they were the performances were made they made CDs out of them. They made VHS tapes. You could buy them and watch them. And since then probably DVDs as well. I'm not so much interested in having those, but from what I remember, let's see. I remember Kiss, which was, even then, and still, I'm like, what an odd fucking choice, Kiss. I don't know if I've ever heard it or seen it, but anyway, Kiss did it. I think it was in there. They did like a no makeup. Kiss acoustic with their makeup would be pretty fucking goofy, but I think that was in their no makeup days. Let's see. Nirvana did it. Handful of others that I just don't remember. I think the most two memorable though, and probably the most well loved, were Alice in Chains and Nirvana, and both great performances. I've never really been a Nirvana fan. I'm fine with them. I respect Nirvana, but I've just never been a big fan. Alice in Chains though, different story for me. And honestly, I've always kind of considered this almost a standalone album. I mean, none of these songs are exclusive to this release. They're all songs spanning, Alice in Chains didn't have a massive discography up until this point in '96, although this was the tail end of the band. They were fairly short-lived, mostly due to, the rampant drug use that kind of plagued the band, most notably, their singer, Lane Staley, who turns in a really good performance on this, but he is in bad shape. In fact, I'd much rather listen to this than watch it, because it is a sad watch, man, especially if you're a fan. I mean, if you're a fan and you know what he was going through at the time, he was basically dying from heroin addiction. He looks fucking awful. You can see footage of him in the couple years before this, and just the decline that you're looking at is fucking saddening, man. He looks like he's about 110, 120 pounds. Very frail. He looks and sounds different. It's sad and it's hard to watch, but the performances are great. I feel like the acoustic versions of these songs become a different song from the original version, and that's what I think makes this so great. I do plan on doing an Alice in Chains discography ranking video, hopefully within the next couple weeks. It's something I've really been wanting to do, and I've been listening to this band nonstop lately, and I've been listening a lot to their newer albums, the post Lane Staley albums. There are 3 of them, because I realized I wanted to do the video. I wanted to do it honestly, and I wasn't super, like, I've had all 3 of those albums, but I wasn't super familiar with them like I am with the early stuff. So I've just been playing them nonstop and really enjoying it. They're good albums, and I'm actually pretty excited for the video. I'm gonna do no spoilers right now, but I'm gonna do. Other people have done Alice in Chains album ranking videos, of course, but I'm gonna put a twist on it that's different than anything I've ever seen. So there is that. That might, if you're an Alice in Chains fan, you might be interested in watching that, even if you've seen other people rank, the albums. I'm gonna do it a little different, so I think it'll be fun. And yeah, that's my Alice in Chains spiel. It's been on my mind for a while. So, anyways, get on to these 2020 death metal albums. Like, I have not listened to any of them yet, for some stupid reason, just because I'm like that. I can't even promise when I'm going to listen to them. Hopefully soon. I mean, I bought them to listen to, but I'm always listening to stuff, and sometimes it just takes me a while to get to new stuff, new things that I buy. Sometimes I don't even hear them for a year after I buy them. But anyways, we're going to start with Oakland, California, black death metal band. This band, they've kind of came with a lot of hype. This is like their 3rd recording, I think. I want to say they have 1 album and an EP before this. They haven't been around a real long time, but a couple years plus. I don't really want to call them a super group, but all 3 of these guys have been in, known and liked bands over the years. Yeah, like I said, it's just a band that comes with a lot of hype, and I don't mean that as a negative. I mean, I bought the album, on a whim, having not heard it and having almost barely hearing this band at all. We got Oakland's Ulthar with their new album Providence. Very gnarly, gross, Lovecraftian-looking artwork that I, of course, that caught my eye, and that was kind of a big part of me buying this. I'm like, all right, if it's gross-sounding death metal, count me in for that. So this band, like I said, Oakland, California, you got dudes in this band from like Mutilation Rites, Vastum, Horn of Dagoth, and others. This came out on Profound Lore, if you didn't notice what I just showed. Yeah, I know a lot of people that like this band. I've really only seen good things over the last couple years, and it was in a local record store, and I said, fuck it, I'm gonna grab it. I like blind buying stuff. That's how we did it back in the older days, and I still like doing it. You're gonna get burned eventually and occasionally, but it's still something I like doing. I could have pulled them up on YouTube right there in the store, before making the purchase, but I kind of prefer not to do that. I gotta stop leaving when I buy new things, new CDs, I make like before I put them away, I put them in like a pile, basically on the floor over by like my shelves. And if I leave them there for too long, Louis ends up usually trampling them. So like, that's why I have all these like new CDs with cracked and broken cases. Like this next one already has a broken case from fucking Louis rampaging over. Okay, this next one is a death metal band, also from California. Another band that's came with a lot of hype. They've had hype. This is like their third or fourth. I think it's like their 4th album. They've had a lot of hype, but they've had it this whole time. So I mean, that kind of tells me. I mean, if you can continue hype from album to album, that to me that says a lot, because especially younger people nowadays, their attention span kind of sucks. I don't mean to sound negative, but I mean people's attention span sucks nowadays. And if you can not only hold on to hype, but get more and more hype with each release. I mean, nowadays that's pretty impressive. So, anyways, we got California's Skeletal Remains with the Entombment of Chaos. Note the cool, Dan Seagraves cover art. The old school looking yellow logo. I saw it and I just pretty much grabbed it and I was like, fuck it. I had not planned on buying anything from this band at all, just because of all the hype. Like I said, hype kind of ruins things sometimes, but it shouldn't. So I chose to not let it ruin it in this case. And I have even said recently, I've actually made comments about this band that, like, I remember saying to a friend or a couple friends lately, like, I've only heard a little bit of Skeletal Remains. I feel like they're massively overrated. But that's not really for me to say yet, because I had never actually heard a full album. So, I kind of retracted my words, eating my words, so to speak. But, I decided to give them a shot. If this album doesn't do anything for me, I'm probably not gonna, pick anything up from them in the future, and I will kind of write them off as an overhyped, overrated band. But I'm reserving that judgment for now because I've not heard an entire album. So, once again, this kind of with that Ulthar, a blind buy that I don't think I'm going to completely regret, but my opinion on this band, is going to be pretty firm after listening to that, or at least delving into it, listening to it a couple times, giving it, proper time to, soak in. And last, but certainly not least, one of my favorite death metal bands, one of everyone's favorite death metal bands. I think you might know already where I'm going. The newest Incantation album, Sect of Vile Divinities. I'm sure everyone's buying this right now. And why wouldn't you? Relapse Records. Why wouldn't you? I'm not even going to, give a spiel on Incantation. We all know who they are. We all love them. Like I said, one of my absolute favorite death metal bands. I always buy their new releases. Although I did miss one some years back. I still need to pick that up. I didn't get Dirges of Elysium. I don't know why. I heard it's great. It just kind of slipped past me. But I typically always buy Incantation releases. I always enjoy them. They're just, they're a national treasure of a death metal band. They're one of the bands that puts death metal on the U.S. map. There are a handful, but Incantation are definitely, among the top. So that's all I got. That's, I'm not buying a lot of new stuff right now, so I'm probably just going to get back to my, back to my collection videos. I really enjoy doing those anyways, probably the most. My next video will probably be a tape collection video. I want to get back to my horror collection soon as well, so you can probably expect one of those from me within the next week or two. Kind of I didn't record any videos, not that anyone really cares or notice, but I didn't do any videos for almost 2 weeks. I just kind of it's been kind of a rough, I know it's cliche to say, but it truly has been a rough year. This year has sucked for me. One of the worst years that I've been alive for, anyways. I'm hoping things get better for me and for other people as well. But it's yet to be seen. Not to get all grim at the end of this video. I typically, I like making these videos. I typically only, I wait to make them until I'm in the mood. I don't, of course I don't have a schedule or anything like that. I don't ever make promises on when I'll release one. And like I said, not that anyone's asking or anyone gives a shit. I don't expect that, but yeah, I typically only do them when I'm, in a decent mood and, and feeling like I'm in the right mindset. And lately I kind of haven't been, but I enjoy making these so I can talk to you guys, really, is why I do this. That's what I enjoy most about it. So anyways, that was kind of a pointless, unnecessary rant, but I hope you guys are doing well, man. I really do. Talk to me about whatever you want. Talk to me about, how good or bad your year's been. Talk to me about any of these releases, these movies. Talk to me about whatever you want. I'm down listening. All right. Anyways, thanks for stopping by. We will talk soon. Cheers.